Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm Marilyn and my channel's Making with Marilyn. Now I do all things crafty, but on today's video I'm going to do a super simple project using a canvas board from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to use some HTV and then I'm going to use some craft paint. Now the theme of my project's going to be Halloween, but you can do anything you want. You just use the same process but your own design. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint an ombre effect on a canvas board. I'm going to cut out my HTV design and then I'm going to press it on. But you could use regular adhesive vinyl. You could even use a stencil vinyl and paint your entire project. So here's what I'm going to do to get started with my project. I want to go ahead and paint first so this has time to dry while I'm working on my design. Now I like this process because it's easy and I am definitely no artist and I think it's pretty cute. And I'll show it to you here in just a minute. I'm going to use a light yellow, an apricot orange. This is called pumpkin orange. And this one is called holiday red, but you don't need these exact colors. This is just the general color scheme I wanted. So I'm going to shake each one of these up real quick, make sure that they're still liquid. I don't paint all that often. My red hadn't even been opened yet, so I went ahead and took the plastic off of that. And then all I have under this is some wax paper, and then this is just the backing off some HTV or something just to give me more coverage for my mess. Now this little canvas, it's just an 8x8. I got it at the Dollar Tree store. If this turns out well, I think I'll make a bigger one of these, but I want to see how it goes first. So all I'm going to do to start is put a line or two of each color of paint. And I'm going to go from the lightest color to the darkest color. And I don't want a ton of red on this. I really just wanted some for depth, but I want mainly the colors to be the yellow and the oranges. Now this yellow would not be my first choice, but it's the only yellow I had. So we're going to work with it. Okay, so all I'm going to do is start going back and forth, and I'm going to start at the top, mainly just using the yellow. Then I'm just going to work my way down, and they start kind of mixing with an ombre effect. I have way too much paint on here. It's dripping over on my hand, but that's okay. So it kind of resembles a candy corn. Okay, so I'm going to start going back up. And this is where you have to be careful that you don't just start muddying all of your colors. Now that's going to bring some brighter color to that really bland and pretty light yellow. I like that. Now I'm just going to go from one side to the other and see if I can be done. Again, I am having paint drip all over my hand. Now I don't like how solid the red is yet, so I'm going to work that just a little bit more. With this technique, you have to know when you're done. If you overwork this, it's going to lose its effect. So if you don't like it and you feel like it needs some help, just let it dry. Okay, let's get some brighter colors up at the top. Because once it's dry, then it's not going to muddy up so much. While they're wet, they just mix, and again, they just kind of get muddied up. Okay, I really like this, except it's not very flat. The paint isn't flat, and you can really see the lines. So I'm going to grab a soft brush. Look at this hand. The sides kind of look the same way. I want to try to clean those off without getting that paint back on the top, because I don't want to ruin my design. like I did just right there. I think I can fix it on the next step. All right, I'm gonna go grab a soft brush. I'll be right back. Okay, so now I'm just gonna let the weight of the brush wipe across this canvas. And what that does is it's just kind of evening out the texture of the paint. I'm not trying to change the color of the paint. Just trying to get that texture to lay down a little bit more smoothly. Now I'm just going to put my 4 jars of paint. I'm trying to find a clean spot for this one. Clean enough. Set this down on top. Now I'll let it dry. Now I'm having a hard time walking away from that little problem right there. The woes of having OCD tendencies. Okay, walk away. Now it's only been about 15 or 20 minutes, and other than where the paint is thick on the sides and the bottom, it's pretty well dry. So here in a little bit, when I think the rest of it's dry, I like to have some form of protection over this, but I don't want to turn it glossy. So I'm going to go outside and spray it with this matte finish paint. Now for this project, I was looking for like a haunted house look, and I found this file on Creative Fabrica. Now when I started Creative Fabrica, I did the $1 trial membership for a month. My whole plan was to cancel, and I loved it, so I've kept it. Now if you're interested in trying it for a month for $1, I do have a link in the video description. All right, so I found this file for a square palette, my canvas. I think I'll use this house. So I'm going to say download. Then I'm going to go ahead and drag this over to my desktop. All right, so let's go ahead and open up that file that I downloaded. You have all these different types of files. I'm going to go with the SVG since I'll cut it. So I'll double click on that, and here's the one that I want, 1.svg. So for now, I'm just going to drag this off to the side, and when I get into Cricut, I'll use that. So I'm going to go ahead and open Cricut, and I'll say New Project, Upload, Upload Image, and then since I have this right over on my desktop, I can just drag it here. It's already in SVG, so there's nothing to clean up on this file. So now I'll just say Upload. Now that it's in my uploads, I can click on it, and I can say Add to Canvas. All right, so it came in at a little over 10 inches, almost 10.5 inches tall by 10.7 wide. Let me go ahead and lock those proportions. And then since my canvas is 8 by 8, I want it to cover most of the canvas. Let's go with 6.5. All right, so if I want to see exactly what that would look like, I can go to Shapes, and I'll do a square. Now let's change that square kind of a yellowish or an orange color, and I'll make the square 8 by 8. The proportions are locked, so when I change the width, it changes the height. Now it's on the front, so I can say Arrange and Send to Back. Okay, so that's how my house would look. Let me go ahead and move on up to 7 inches for the width. And I think I like that a little bit more. Now, if I wanted to, I could go back into Creative Fabrica and find some bats or something. I think I will. Let me search for Halloween bats. Okay, I'm going to use something from this file. So I'll click on the file, and then I'll say Download. Okay, so I can go ahead and close that out. Once again, I'm going to take that downloaded file over to my desktop. All right, let's go ahead and open that up and see what all we have. Again, we have the SVG version. That's what I want. For now, I'm just going to drag all those in. So I'll say Upload again and Upload Image. I'll bring my SVG file over. Now it says it's an SVG, but look, there's a background. Let's look and see. Here's the cut around it. Let me just delete that. Okay, let me go ahead and ungroup these. Now, I don't really care. Oops, got to ungroup them again. All right, I don't care so much for this one, so I'll delete it. I like that one. Let's see what these others look like. That one's okay. Let's find the rest of them. That one's okay. Okay, so I'm down to these 4 bats. And I don't want to get too many different types. I really want to stick with, I think I'm going to just stick with this one. So I'll delete these other 2. And then since the proportions are locked, I can just drag this to the size I want. So I think I'll put 1 on this side, and then I'll hit Command C for copy, Command V for paste, and it put it right over here where I want it. Let's flip it. I'll flip it horizontally. No, I don't really like that. Well, let's see. Let's just make it smaller. I'm just going to kind of play with this until I like it. All right, so let's flip this one horizontally. All right, I think that looks a little bit better. And actually, I'm going to hover on these corners until I get it to rotate, and rotate it just a bit. Make it just a little smaller. And I think I'm happy with that. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and delete my yellow background. I'll go ahead and I will attach these so that they'll cut exactly the way we see them. And because this is HTV, I need to flip that horizontally. Now, would it matter? No, not really. But I like the way I was seeing it on the screen. That's how I want it on my canvas. So I needed to flip it. So at this point, I'm ready to go ahead and say make it. There it is. I'll say continue. And then I'll browse my materials, and in Cricut, they call it iron on. I'm just going to use this everyday iron on setting and see if that works. So I'll say done. It wants me to make sure I have my fine point blade in, which I do. It's also warning me to mirror it since it's HTV. Now this was my first time to use this HTV, and it's a really large roll from HTV Ront, and what I found inside was this little weeding tool. So this is 12 inches by 20 feet, so it's a really big roll, but I'm not sure if I use the right settings because, again, I haven't used it before. I can see the cut lines, so I think it is, but let's find out. All right, I'm just going to grab under the HTV at a corner and then just start pulling it up to see if it cut well. Now my first impression is this is a little bit thicker and a little bit stiffer than like a Caesar Easy Weed. I'm not saying that's bad, it's just different. It seems to be weeding well. But instead of me sitting here and boring you to tears, I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through this. Now here's how my painting turned out, and I did spray it with that matte sealant. So we'll put this right on top, and we're going to go over to the heat press. Now to heat this, it says 300 to 320 degrees. I'm supposed to preheat for 2 to 3 seconds. I'm going to skip that step on this. It recommends using a Teflon sheet, which I would do anyway because I have paint on this. and then apply medium pressure for 10 to 15 seconds. And then it says let it cool for 45 seconds before you peel the carrier sheet up. Now for this project, I'm going to use this HTV auto press, and it's the first time that I've used this for an actual project. So I'm putting a piece of parchment paper down on the pad just to protect it. And then you'll see in a minute that once I get my design put on top, I get it cleaned up and exactly where I want it, I'm going to put a piece of Teflon sheet on top. That way I'm just protecting that actual heating element once it comes down. So this is the first project I'm actually using this heat press on. I did unbox it, turned it on, made sure I understood how to use all the settings. Once I had that figured out, I decided it was time to do an actual project. So I think it's pretty nice the way it comes down automatically and it lifts up automatically, but time will tell how well I really like it. All right, I used the minimum temperature and the minimum time, so I don't know if this is stuck down yet. I've left my heat press on in case I need to put it back under. But it has been at least 45 seconds, so let's see if it sticks. Now so far I haven't seen anything lift. Oh, there's a little bit of lifting there. Let's see what happens if I pull from the other side. All right, so there was a little bit of stretching right here, but it looks okay, really. So I'm going to put this back under the press. I'll put my Teflon sheet on top. Hopefully I don't ruin my Teflon sheet by getting paint on it. And then I'll bring this right back over. So I'm going to press this for about 10 more seconds with that Teflon sheet on top. Okay, y'all. I don't know about this. Oh, it's fine. I was really worried the paint was going to stick to this Teflon sheet or at least get messed up, but it didn't. Now here's my project. I think it turned out super cute for such a cheap little inexpensive thing and not too much time. I love it. And I like how you see the texture of the Teflon sheet in the vinyl. Even on my shirts, I'm a huge fan of that. So thanks so much for joining me today. And until my next video, bye-bye. All right, I wanted to come on for just a minute because I forgot to tell you something. One time I put my heat transfer vinyl on first, then I sprayed sealant over the whole thing, and something in the spray, the solvents or something, made it where the heat transfer vinyl was lifting. Possibly a Mod Podge that you brush on would be okay. If you've tried something to seal over HTV on wood or on canvas, let me know what it was and how it worked out for you.